Hi, I'm Jenny Brown. Welcome to MFB News. I hope everybody's doing really well, that you are with power, without COVID and keeping warm. And happy first day of Advent for those of you who partake. I hope you're all excited to get stuck into your Advent calendars. I might have gone early on mine. I was at work yesterday, I had an Advent calendar on my desk and I was a bit peckish. So I've now I'm in arrears until the 6th of December when I'll have caught up with how many I've eaten in advance. I'm sure I'm not the only person who does this. Lots of good stuff to cover off with you this week. We've got some lender pricing changes, we've got some criteria changes, and also the Mortgage Works have published some data which I really enjoy sharing with you because it's really informing you on how other landlords are feeling. And I think in a role which is largely quite isolated, it's always very interesting to know what your peers are up to. So I'm going to be going through that with you as well today. Okay, so first of all, in terms of pricing and lender news, there have been a flurry of withdrawals and rate increases over the last week. The first products which I've seen withdrawn, which was a bit of a shame actually, was the Aldermore offering, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago on our weekly update. The one in particular I liked was their portfolio loan, which was where you could take a single mortgage secured against multiple properties. The rate here was just incredible, 2.98%, 75% loan to value, no arrangement fee, free valuation and free legals if you're doing a remortgage. Now, unfortunately, that's been withdrawn today and they haven't announced a replacement. Now, this was a limited edition product, and as we mentioned in most of these videos at the moment, this is kind of the way lenders are going in terms of trying to drive through business on a very limited basis for a small amount of funds. And when these rates have been used up, they simply get withdrawn. And this is just another one of the casualties, I'm afraid. Now, Aldermore haven't announced a replacement for this. I suspect they will be bringing out a replacement product. How it's going to look will remain to be seen. But yes, so unfortunately, if you had seen our update a couple of weeks ago and had this one on your radar, it's no longer with us. Okay, so Aldermore are a specialist lender. They're very good at lending to landlords with larger portfolios, limited companies, that kind of stuff. So that's really the biggest movement in the specialist market over the last week. We've also seen Virgin increase their buy-to-let rates. Also, the Clydesdale increased their buy-to-let rates by up to 10 basis points. And Platform Home Loans have also increased their pricing by up to 15 basis points in the last week. Now, these three lenders all operate in the same space. Virgin and Clydesdale are actually linked, they're all part of the same group. So it was unsurprising to see them sort of go at the same time. We've also seen the Furness actually make some adjustments to their pricing. So their 5-year fixed rates have increased by up to 40 basis points. This is going to be in reaction to what we were seeing happening with swap rates, which are steadily increasing. But they've also reduced some of their standard buy-to-let rates, the non-holiday let rates, by up to 30 basis points. So a little bit of a mixed bag there from the Furness. But look, you know, again, the message is very, very clear. The pricing is starting to really tick up now as lenders are really starting to come into the play of using those funds which have been purchased on the money market at those higher interest rates. So like I say, if you are in the market for a remortgage, the pricing movements at the moment, we are talking, you know, for some lenders it's literally 0.05%, 0.1%. So it's the kind of stuff where in terms of the difference it makes to you as a borrower, it isn't life-changingly bad, but obviously the direction of travel is very much upwards. So if you are thinking about taking a mortgage anytime soon, please do give us a call sooner rather than later. Okay, now thankfully, to stop me having to be a doom and gloom merchant this week, Vida Home Loans have released some limited edition products. Again, just to reiterate, limited edition means they're available for a limited, well, I say period of time. It's actually normally done on a monetary amount. So a lender will say, we have £50 million to lend on this particular rate. And when we have applications in to that value, we pull the products. So look, what have they brought out? They've brought these products out which are available to individuals and limited companies. 2-year fixed rates now from 2.89%, 5-year fixed rates now from 3.09%. What's good about this? So look, for the multi-unit and HMOs, which you can get these products on, they can accept 8 rooms on HMOs, 5 self-contained units or multi-units. To access that kind of lending with Vida, you do have to have 1 year's letting experience under your belt, incidentally. But if you're looking to buy a standard property, they are able to accept first-time landlords. So look, age 79 at the point of application is your maximum age there. No maximum number of properties in the background. No minimum income requirement. They can enter individuals and also limited companies. So it's really great to see Vida bringing out what is actually some really very competitive pricing. I should add here that what makes these particularly attractive is the flat arrangement fee of £1,495. Metro Bank have clearly been looking at their lending policy and making some enhancements to it. So what have they done? So first of all, they have now increased their maximum loan to value to 80% for loans of up to £500,000. They've also reduced their stress test on 5-year fixed rates. So the calculation now is 140% coverage, assuming an interest rate of 3.5%, which actually among the more sort of clearing bank type institutions is pretty generous. They're also saying now that they no longer require proof of income for self-funding buy-to-lets. So what that actually means is that if you've got buy-to-lets in the background, they're not asking to see tenancy agreements and bank statements to verify the income that's been received on those. They are still asking for proof of income for your day-to-day income, so tax returns, SA302s, payslips, that kind of stuff. They've made some reductions on their pricing, so the 5-year fixed rates now start from 2.29%. They've also increased their appetite on new build houses and flats, and they're able to lend on 80% loan to value on those as well. So in terms of Metro Bank and who they are as a lender, they're definitely more of a clearing bank type lender. I'd say they're more of a clearing bank lender with a bit of bells on it, to be honest, because their pricing isn't the cheapest on the market, but they have some niches in their criteria which kind of reflects this. So along with all the really good stuff that I've just mentioned to you, they have no minimum income requirement. Maximum age at the point of maturity of the loan is 85 years old. They can accept up to 4 unrelated applicants on an application. Some lenders restrict this to 2, so that's quite nice. They also accept portfolio landlords, so you can have up to 5 properties with Metro Bank, 10 in total in the background as well. The other thing that Metro Bank do, which I quite like, is something called top slicing, which really only works for landlords with a couple of properties. But this is where if you were doing the rental calculation and the numbers weren't stacking up, Metro Bank can essentially bring your own personal disposable income into the mix to cover any shortfalls. Now, they're definitely not unique in their approach of doing this, but there's not that many lenders that do, particularly in the high street type lender arena where the pricing is so low. So if you are looking for a buy-to-let mortgage, particularly in the southeast, I think this is where we tend to find this works, because this is where the yield's the weakest. You're looking for a buy-to-let mortgage, the numbers aren't working out, it's in personal names, you've got a really good sort of day job, as it were, lots of disposable income and very little indebtedness. This can work out really nicely for you. So great to see Metro Bank revisiting their lending criteria and making sure that they're doing the best they can, and they're dropping their requirements down to help out our landlords. Molo have just moved into the portfolio landlord lending space, which they weren't in previously. So before now they were capping the maximum number of buy-to-let properties the applicant could have at 4. They've now increased this to 10. Now what they're saying here is that in terms of their requirements, they will, like I say, accept up to 10 mortgage buy-to-let properties in the background. There's no limit to the number of unencumbered properties you can have in the background. And their portfolio proposition is available on their standard product rates. They're not kind of bringing out a secondary set of products for these landlords. Now what they're saying is that the background portfolio can be geared to no more than 75% loan to value, and the portfolio rental income needs to work on 100% coverage, assuming a notional interest rate of 5.5%, which both of these in terms of the kind of wider lending space are actually quite generous. 75% loan to value as a background portfolio is quite standard, but the rental calculation is the one which feels particularly good to me. So great news there from Molo this week. So that's it from the lenders this week. Now what I wanted to do is just share with you the reports from the Mortgage Works which have been released in the last week. Now the Mortgage Works run a series of market research which is carried out amongst thousands of landlords, and then they report on the findings. They do this quarterly, and the reason that I find this really interesting is that this is really reporting on landlords' kind of view on the markets. These are you guys are the people who are experiencing things firsthand, so actually it's really good to see how you're feeling and what you're actually seeing happening. And I would say actually it's really interesting that the Mortgage Works are one of the very few lenders who are actually investing in trying to understand their kind of clients' experience, you know, so it's really commendable on their part in terms of what they're actually doing. So I'm sure this costs them quite a large amount of money to do. So look, where did we land with this? So first of all, of the 3 reports, the first one is the buy-to-let barometer, which is really measuring how landlords are feeling about the market. And there were 3 kind of key findings in this that I wanted to share with you first of all. So this is covering off Q3 in 2021, by the way. So first of all, landlords' optimism for their own letting business is now at a 5-year high. The way they do this is on a point scoring system. So the point score has gone up plus 7 percentage points since Q2, and it's now sitting at 48%. So this represents a 22% gain since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic and an 18% gain year on year in terms of landlord confidence for their letting business. Now, in addition to this, landlord optimism for the prospects for capital gains and rental yield is also at a 5-year high and has seen an increase of more than 20% year on year. And the proportion of landlords reporting increasing tenant demand is also at an all-time high of 57%, which is up 18% from Q2 in 2021. So what this is really telling us is that at the moment, landlords are feeling really, really good about, you know, landlording. I don't know if that's a verb or not. Anyway, so they're feeling really great about their business. They're feeling great about the prospects for capital gains and also about tenant demand as well, which is really, really encouraging. And I guess this is why of the landlords surveyed, 19% plan to buy at least one more property in the coming 12 months. Incidentally, of those 19%, 43% are planning to use a limited company, which I found quite interesting. I would have assumed it would be more, but, you know, actually the great news is that people are looking to invest. Now, the second report was the tenant demand report, which again is covering Q3 in 2021. And in this report, landlords were asked the question, in your opinion, what has happened to tenant demand in the last 3 months? And the results were that 30% reported a significant increase, 28% reported a slight increase, and the rest reporting either a slight decrease, significant decrease, which was just 1%, and 17% of people simply weren't sure. So this is fantastic in terms of, you know, over 58% of landlords are now reporting an increase in tenant demand. Now, the final report was the rental income analysis, which is actually covering off yields. And what it's telling us here is that after 3 consecutive quarters of relative stability in the average gross rental income generated by landlords, Q3 saw an uplift of £3,000 to £57,000. This is the average rental income derived from a landlord's portfolio. So essentially what's happening here is that on the back of what landlords are saying, when there's an increased rental demand, we're also now seeing rents increase, and actually significantly as well. Now, in terms of yields by region, the East Midlands is sitting at the highest at 6.5%. The North East is at 6.2%, East of England 6.1%, North West sits at a yield at 6%, as does the South West. London Central is at 5.9%, sitting alongside Wales, also at 5.9%. Yorkshire and the Humber at 5.8%, West Midlands at 5.7%, South East, excluding London, 5.6%, and London Outer, 5.5%. So really, really positive findings here. I mean, obviously, in terms of, you know, our kind of interest in this, it's really fantastic to hear landlords having a good time. I know that the start of the pandemic was really, really rough for our landlord clients. So all looking very, very positive. And that is us for this week. Thank you, as always, for joining us. I hope you found that interesting. And as always, if there's anything you would like us to cover off or talk about in more detail, please just leave a comment under the video or get in touch directly. We'd love to hear from you. And on that note, also, if you have any mortgage-related questions, please do give us a ring, 0345 345 6788, or have a look at our website. I'll be back again this time next week. I'm sure I'll have demolished even more of the advent calendar by then. I hope you join me with that. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time.